I am Magnus Carlsson from Sweden. I'm the most used, abused, raped, brainwashed, parasited on, spied on, tortured, brainwashed to death almost. Tortured man in history of men and women. I've been tortured by Nazi Sweden, by Nazi witches, by the devil Bo Gerenmark. All of the Nazi movement, which he, Bo Gerenmark, the devil, and boogeyman, yes, he's the boogeyman Bo Gerenmark. And you can call him Bosse or Boss or whatever. The Führer from Schutzstaffel or the Sturmabteilung. Yes, that's what he is. He's a mental disease for the human race. He's a witch and a troll. I demand from the witches and their master, the devil, Bo Gerenmark in Gothenburg, and all that calls themselves Bo Gerenmark's family of witches. $8 billion given to me, Magnus Carlsson, the torture victim. They and their inner core of Nazism, that's what they are. They and their social democracy, they are always connected. The witches and the social democracy, just like the 31st of April, the Walpurgis Day, and the 1st of May, the working class Nazism Day. The leader of the Nazi pack in Europe, the Nazi socialist fascist movement, is the Reichsführer Stefan Löfven from Sweden. He is the president of the socialist movement in Europe and the world too then. They're always connected. The inner core of Nazism and the witches and their master, the devil, of course, a true alien with no human feelings at all, a true psychopath, and everyone knows that. He has splitted himself into several persons, triple identities, you can say. And that's, of course, nothing for our witch master, mind-reading, telepathic witch, as Mr. Gerenmark, and the countries of the devil, Sweden, Norway, and the Netherlands, full of witches and trolls. You should be considered as the troll yourself, Bo Gerenmark, the king in the mountain of Blue Hill, I would say. Or would you prefer Ramberget or Ättestupan? End of the bloodline, so to speak. From Boge to Boge. Bo Gerenmark. Boge. Yes, you Nazi movement, ruled by social democracy and of course the European national Nazis, with the devil's closest man in politics, Mr. Carl Bildt, the Russian hater. The closest man in politics to the blue gay Bo Gerenmark is Mr. Carl Bildt, of course, who fucked Bohman's daughter to get the power in Sweden. He is, of course, the main figure in the Bilderberg group. Mr. Gerenmark has several connections in the world. Millions, billions of people supporting him and his devilship. The Wallenberg movement is, of course, one. Close to the social democracy, Nazi social democracy, and the witches, always connected. You have tortured me all my life, Mr. Bo Gerenmark, and Sweden and the Nazi social democracy and the witches. or generation before. Yes, my previous generations, my parents, grandparents, all since the ancestor Gustav Adolf Andersson, the son, the bastard son to King Carl XV, Bernadotte. Yes, and he comes from Jean-Baptiste Bernadotte, who served Napoleon Bonaparte, as you know, before Napoleon made him the Swedish and Norwegian king too. So you could see me as perhaps the true almighty king of Sweden and Norway. Yes, if things were how it should have been, in a democracy. There is no democracy in Sweden and Norway. Never. It's totally ruled by the witches and the trolls, just as in the Netherlands. You have a total fake society in Sweden, Norway, and the Netherlands. Individuality is worth nothing at all. It's only the group that is important. The Nazi collective, everyone knows that. You are nothing as an individual. It's the group where the Führer is the boss or boss. It's only the Führer's voice you hear. Of course, the witches. Reichsführer Stefan Löfven. Reichsführer Löfven. And your spiritual leader, the devil and boogeyman Bo Gerenmark, of course, the witch himself. You have always ruled individuality. Own knowledge, worth nothing for these satanic creeps like Bo Gerenmark, the devil, and the incompetent, worthless Reichsführer Stefan Löfven. Give me my money, $8 billion secured in gold, of course, Mr. Golden Gerenmark, or should I say Fan den Gerenmark. You're a very funny man, Mr. Gerenmark. You have sort of a problem to not smiling when you do your nasty, evil, cruel things to people. Everyone knows that. When you seize the future, your own brain-dead, individual, egoistic visions of the future, and you sense your ghost to the past and the future, and the present time, of course. That's what you do, you witches. Your own little nigger king in Norway tells that all the time. He speaks to the dead. Shaman Durek Veret. Just one thing for the niggers and for you, Bo Gerenmark, of course, to take control of the Bernadotte family. Yes, it's the Bernadotte family. The monarchy in Norway, of course, too. Just as in Sweden. And they are connected to the European English royal house too, of course. All European royal houses. Yes. You have infected all the human race. It was you and your damn witches, preceders of you, Bo Gerenmark, or should I say Fan den Gerenmark, who was Hitler's master and supervisor. Gold, Nazi gold, and silver was your true metal, of course. Silver, Nazi silver, of course. But you prefer gold, Nazi gold, the gold that you took from the Jews and the Slavs. Everyone knows that, Mr. Gerenmark. You and your witches and your inner core of Nazism, such as Joseph Mengele, Adolf Hitler, Heydrich, Himmler, Göring. Yes, there are many names. In Estonian, perhaps Rosenberg is well known. Or in Russia too, when he seen to that he and Rasputin and the Nazi movement took care about the Romanov family, the Tsar family, and made the Bolsheviks murder them, assassinate them, execute them. It's easy for the XXX Nazis and the witches together, of course, to spread rumors and lies as they always do about honest people. Yes, you got the Russian king family, royal family murdered. It was also a royal family, as everyone knows. Mr. Gerenmark, you and your witches and the Nazi movement, the Nazi social democracy movement, and the Boer Nazi movement, of course. Arbeit macht frei is your word, as ever, as always, Mr. Bo Gerenmark. Arbeit macht frei, and you want Lebensraum, eastwards. Yes, you want the destruction and the total extermination of not only me and my royal family, my bloodline, which is royal on my mother's side. I am the only one alive. But you also want the total extermination of the Russian people. And when you are finished with that, you want the extermination of the Chinese people and the Mongolian people too. And the Korean, North Korean people too, of course. Since they are communists. And you are the enemy of communism, as always, Mr. Gerenmark. And the Nazi social democracy, of course. Nazi social democracy was created to fight communism and Russia. Everyone knows that. That's the inner core of Nazism, you can say, the modern Nazism. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows individuality, own knowledge, education is worth nothing in the Nazi society. You are just one in the team, one soldier. You are just one soldier without a brain in the Nazi collective. That's the idea of Nazism, as everyone knows. Education means nothing, Mr. Gerenmark. And you're a true creator of chaos, as everyone knows. Chaos itself. You crush people, you and your associate witches. Crush them with your brain, your hand, your feet. Crush them. Sisyphus work. That's what I have been doing all my life. No credits at all. Not ever. Due to you, Mr. Gerenmark, and the Nazi social democracy. And all of Sweden now. Yes, I'm not a Sweden friend, as you know. I'm a Sweden enemy. And my heart beats for the Russian Slavic woman that I want to have as my wife. Love, you don't need. You don't know anything about love, Sweden, and the witches and the devil. Love is, of course, sexual, physical love. Not the love in an old man's hospital where people sit don't knowing who they are themselves, holding hands, Who are you today? I don't know. That's the Swedish way of love. And of course, Sweden is the most unfaithful of countries, together with the Netherlands, of course. Fucking animals, fucking everything. The gay society of Sweden. The enemy of life. It's you, Bo Gerenmark, the boogeyman. And the Nazi social democracy. Everything you want is power, power, power. And money, of course, to get your power. It's nice to see your family Gerenmark's jewelry on internet. Jewelry, gold, from the boss. And the boss was Adolf Hitler, of course. Nice, Bo Gerenmark. And you were Hitler's master. Fan den Gerenmark, the devil Gerenmark, that means. The Nazi social democracy and the witches, they have preceded the future. Hundreds of years ago, their visions, they so-called religious baptized visions from Birger Claesson and Anton Johansson. If I reckon Swedish prophets, baptized prophets, Pentecost prophets. Yes, Anton Johansson and Birger Claesson, they were raised in the same time as Grigory Rasputin, as everyone knows. And they look very, very similar, Grigory Rasputin and Anton Johansson. You and your witches, Gerenmark, and the Nazi social democracy, made, your witches, created the murder of Joseph Stalin. And you had to sacrifice, of course, your priest, Birger Claesson. They died almost at the same time, you know. You have tried to follow your, son of Satan, Michel de Notre Dame, ancient 16th century after Christ prophecies. Yes, and you put in your wishes, not witches, of what you want in your so-called Nostradamus predictions, prophecies. You wanted Putin murdered, you wanted Kim Jong-un murdered. That you just put in that Nostradamus had said that and written that. Total lies. Yes, Mr. Gerenmark, Mr. Nazi itself, Mr. Aquaman, Mr. Poseidon. Yes, you want to be considered as Father Neptune, of course. Close to your own Lord Uranus in Ukraine. You have given your hand of love to Mr. Zelensky, yes. And fucked him inside, in the ass. Yes, he liked that. He's so orange, just like Netherlands. Sweden, 1,000 years after Christ, married Ukraine. The time of the Vikings, the first time of the Nazism. You and your runes, cursing and banning people, your witches, back then. Yes, you are the evil itself, Gerenmark, and so is the rest of the inner core of Nazism. And the European national Nazis too, of course. Just as Mr. Carl Bildt, your closest man in politics, blue to blue, so to speak. Light blue, I should say. The true gay color. For a witch. You carry the witch virus, Mr. Gerenmark. The witch gene. You carry the gay diseases. You carry the witch diseases. You spread that to the human race. Your HIV. Your corona. Every variants of corona. You carry the cancer. Yes, you are not infected, of course. It's only your own victims that are punished through getting cancer, mutating virus and cells, splitting cells. Which are the animals that are considered to be symbiotic, to having another life form inside of their brain, so to speak. Yes, parasites in their head. It is, of course, the snakes and the wolves. Characteristic animal. Snakes are witches and devils. Wolves, they are Nazis, of course. Might-hungry people. These things you are spreading also to the human race. I want my $8 billion US secured in gold. Gold you know about, Mr. Gerenmark. And not that cheap gold that you show in your Gerenmark shop on the internet, where you show previous used gold from the boss. Nice, you could rather say that it was Adolf Hitler that was the owner. Or should I say the true owner was the Jews and the Slavs. The Zigeuner you needed. They were witches, you know. Josef Mengele, Hitler's closest man. Hitler's closest man. History repeats itself, as everyone knows, Mr. Gerenmark, certainly you. Since you are the brain in this madness. You are a master of science, you know. Even if your brain capacity is very low compared with mine. I'm a human being, not a parasiting witch that steals information. Not a spy like you, Mr. Gerenmark. You and your XXX Iron Cross people. XXX Iron Cross. Ku Klux Klan people. Satanists. Nazis itself. The Boer way of Nazism. In Ku Klux Klan. True slave owning. That's what you stand for, Mr. Gerenmark. The Boer way of Nazism. And of course, Bo Gerenmark, you are a Boer yourself. Just as your copies in the Netherlands. Holland. You like to having an army of guardian van Bogarts. Bogart, Bossert, witch doctors, psychiatric specialists, devil's advocates, devil's lawyers, spirits, yes. You have an army of guardian angels for you, Mr. Gerenmark. You and your family of witches. Not strange that the total psychiatric business in the world are totally insane and condemned. True normal human people like me, to be put in prison. Prison is what the madhouses, the Mengele healthcare houses is in Sweden. You cannot say anything, Mr. Gernmark. You were personally involved that you put this Dr. Gernmark fake diagnosis on me. You demanded to get in contact with your iron health. And so did your associates at Ramboll and other places. Yes, your associates, yes. Your own pals, so to speak. And yes, you had no war with them. They don't fight their master. They follow you freely, Master Nazi Gernmark. Yes, you demanded to me to help me. And as an employee, you cannot stop your demonic, psychotic department chief from getting in touch with a so-called doctor. Wasn't it that, Ingmar Edqvist, Järnhälsan, Iron Health, in the working class Nazi town, city of Gothenburg? Dr. Faustus, true city, in Wolfgang von Goethe's old book of the devil, about the devil. Not England, you know. Yes, you and your people, your consultant whores, you are whores, you male witches, every one of you, unfaithful whores. You do not stand for anything, no you do not. You are cowardly people. You blame innocent human people with your own fake truths. You are just liars. You spread it through your brain speak, so to speak, all the time. You, Mr. Gernmark, and all of your witches, and the Nazi moment in the Nazi social democracy. And since Sweden is the arch enemy of me, Magnus Carlsson, all of Sweden do that. Including the Nazi government of Ulf Kristersson. Married to Christ, yes. Or is it Thor? However, your closest man in politics, Mr. Carl Bildt, I would see Mr. Carl Bildt as Pontus, I would say, in the Greek mythology, serving his master Poseidon. That's you, Gernmark. History repeats itself. They are not gods. They are just mighty people. Mr. Carl Bildt always wanted power, power, power. And you heard him, Mr. Gernmark, so to speak. And so did the witches before you. The Nazi social democracy have always ruled Sweden anyway. The fatherland of all Nazis, it's social democracy's fault. All of it. Where the individual and intelligence doesn't matter. It's just the name of the people that matters in Sweden. You fake up your names to get a job in society. That's what's important in incompetent incapacitated Sweden. Totally brain dead, incapacitated mentally. Lost all mind, so to speak. Lost contact with the human race, totally. Nazi collective, that you stand for. You're the emperor of Nazism, Bo Ehrenmark. And your Reichsführer, Stefan Löfven. Yes, Magdalena Andersson, the Prime Minister, former, cannot ever be a landfather, you know. That says itself. She is a woman, even if you have programmed her to be like a man. The Nazi title that Sweden always have had to their social democracy prime ministers, men, is landfather. It's only male Swedish social democracy men that can have that title, so to speak, from the mafia Nazism. Per Albin Hansson, the white albino, buddy to Adolf Hitler, his friend and brother. Yes, they like to call themselves bro, brother, bro, Bridge. Is it familiar to you, Mr. Bridge, Bo Ehrenmark? Bro, boo. Everyone knows this is the fact. After Per Albin Hansson, the white albino, Tage Erlander, also the landfather for, what about, should I say, 25 years, social democracy Nazi, built this country, so to speak, together with Per Albin Hansson. After that, they hired Olof Palme to become prime minister. But he wasn't from the movement, not from the working class movement. He was from the blue side. And he got murdered, of course. The working class Nazis had no use for him. He was against USA. He didn't want to bomb innocent Vietnamese people with napalm. Is it familiar to you, Mr. Ehrenmark? Is it familiar to you, Reichsführer Stefan Löfven? Working class Nazi itself. It says boom, like an exploding orgasm for Sweden. The word boom stands for Bo Ehrenmark, and if metal. That's you, Stefan Löfven, Reichsführer. My mother, Siv Karlsson's murderer. You had the responsibility, officially, as Prime Minister in Sweden, landfather. And the word for landfather, German word, Deutsch, is of course Reichsführer, landfather. From brew to brew, brother to brother. Yes. Said to the father, so to speak, fatherland, Sweden. Pontus and Poseidon. Pontus in bed with America. And for sure, the American President Joseph Biden, of course, uses the name POTUS as username. Is it on Twitter or Instagram? I don't know really, but I have seen it. POTUS and Pontus. Just one letter differs. You are very closely connected, Mr. Carl Bildt and Mr. Joseph Biden, of course. And through that, of course, the devil, the boogeyman, Bo Gerenmark, almost as a master and slave relationship. You like that, Mr. Gerenmark, master and slave, you and your witches, and the Nazism. You created the Latin languages, even the Russian languages, to stop all kind of possibilities for Russian and Slav people. You made the veins, so to speak, Nordic mythology, the time of the Vikings. You call them veins, veins in English. They are not devils. You said, you and your preceders, from Boge to Boge, or should I say, the ancient Nordic god, Bor. Bor, as in drill. Drilling. You see the scene in the horror movie of Omen. You don't know. Omen 3, the final battle. You could call it the apocalypse. The veins, the veins. It's spelled just like the Dutch word in the Swedish Devil's translation. Van is a fan, and it's not supporter, it's the devil it refers to. Yes, Mr. Gerenmark, you are not an angel. Mr. Engelen Gerenmark, on the Engelstraat in Gothenburg, close to Valhalla swimming bath. Is Valhalla calling to you? Valhalla calling, that's the expression means Sweden want to become martyrs. Valhalla calling, yes. Death is calling. War is calling to you. Up in battle. Devil, Bo Gerenmark and witches. All of you. March towards Russia. And fight the Russian Red Army. Or whatever they call themselves. The Russian army. And die like the coward that you are. Death or glory. What should I say? Normal human beings do not have that choice, you know. March, you damn devil! You and your witches, and your Nazis, Nazi social democracy, and European national Nazis, Sweden, Norway, Holland. Yes, you have always liked the energy methods. Your Walter Boss, your Walter Bote, your Walter R. Booth, your Niels Bohr, and you, Bo Gerenmark, of course. You too. You like impact loads on power plants, nuclear power plants. The society of Sweden, totally brained in all kind of ways. The democracy word means nothing. It's a total Nazi dictature and has always been. The totally forbidden society. Everything is forbidden. That's what Sweden stands for. It's the parasiting society that it stands for. The witches and the Nazis together. Parasiting. Arbeit macht frei. Sisyphus work. You will never get credit for anything. You are just a soldier. Education means nothing in Sweden. Nothing at all. Nothing. Nothing. It's better to be an ape in Sweden than an educated man. And you support it, Bo Gerenmark, of course. Since you are an educated man, master of science, and a true troll, mind-reading telepath and a psychopath too. You stand for it. Not so much opposition to you then. To get rid of competitors, opponents, whatever you call them. The word of the name, the letter in the word, literal believers, is everything in Sweden, just as in Nazi Germany, as everyone knows. Just look upon, what shall I say, your master student, Josef Mengele, Mr. Van den Gerenmark, I call you that. Or should I say, the angel Van Gerenmark, or just Bo Gerenmark. Master student Josef Mengele. Well, he found his nice legs in a woman, after all. In Irene Schönbein. Schönebein, yes. He had a lot of bones, to choose between. Well, what shall I say? He was a collector, of course, of bones. Female bones. He put it, what shall I say, under the table in Hell's Kitchen in Auschwitz. You like that, Mr. Bo, the cannibal Gerenmark? You are a true parasite, you and your witches. You have your Josef Mengele Hospital in Halmstad, Sweden. Yes, Halland Hospital of Josef Mengele, predicted by General Booth, the Salvation Army. Madhouse was to come, and it came to Halmstad. You have your mind-reading superior elite Nazi doctors. Yes, they seem to disappear after doing the work, given their specific names for the task, so to speak. I've been tortured by this Josef Mengele Hospital, ruled by the Nazi Social Democracy and the European National Nazis, all my life. No one sees, no one hears, no one bothers. Just as welcome into the nice and pleasant Theresienstadt. The Theresienstadt of Auschwitz. You will be well served, and no one will ever look for you again. That's you, Sweden. You, Bo Gerenmark, you and your closest men, the troll, Jot Strömseng, the building man, department chief of AVRI or OF, the steam engine company, Kim Sigfridsson, the witch, Jan-Olof Wallenås, or should I say Loki, the jester, the Jehovah's Witnesses, but you liked Lennart Claesson before Jehovah took over. Lennart Claesson. Claesson is a familiar name. Every time. It's connected to Birger Claesson, of course. The prophet that see the ghost, a man dressed in white sheets with holes for his eyes. A 4-hour-long speech by the ghost. in the Ku Klux Klan dress. Nice, Mr. Germark. It doesn't take much to convince a religious fanatic like Birger Claesson or Anton Johansson, or were they witches too? Just a fake scenery? I don't know. Birger Claesson look a lot like yourself, Mr. Germark. Face to face, so to speak. And so does the Democracy Senator Bossert in America too. Blue. Just like you, Mr. Germark, the gay color. Bossert. And isn't it the Witcher that have the power? Martin Bossert in Ulm signals his specialty. Yes, he looks very much as a character Witcher, who of course truly have witch powers, becoming an expert signal systems. Isn't this what the police agents are using? Signals. Signalspaning-Sverige. Signals. Sweden and Netherlands and Norway and NATO. You, Mr. Bo Germark, you have your Trolls factory. You have your given names. Magnus Olsson and Magnus Carlsson. I am your archenemy. You and Sweden Nazi Social Democracy and your European National Nazis created a new Magnus Carlsson that was like your own son, an antichrist. Nice, Mr. Bo Germark. And you made him work in your own firm, so to speak. The power of Bofors. Bo's force. Your own force of military. Supplier of weapons to NATO and the Islamic States of terrorism. That's what you support. The IS terrorists. All of the Arab nation and the nigger nations too. Islamic State of Muslims. You can put in all Africa and the Arab states there too. And such states like Indonesia, of course. You had connection to my mother's cousin, Egon Gustafsson, the former devil. Before you, Mr. Germark. You made up your plans. You made up your sick, insane plans. Torturing me, my mother, my father, my mother's father, my mother's mother. Very much mother. And motherhood is referring to Russia, of course. Even if I, Magnus Carlsson, am not related to Russia. Yet, I do want Russian wives, Russian or Slavic. I see the Russian Empire as the Baltic nations too. A part of it. And Ukraine too, of course. So, what shall I say? Where were I? I talked about Magnus Olsson and Magnus Carlsson, and it's not me I refer to. I refer to the man that follows your slightest order, constructing his own Jedi witch weapon, so to speak, on your order, Bo Germark, in one way or another. He created not only the system of Archer, which kills over and over again in Russia, Russian soldier, Russian civilians. The system of Archer, that's your Antichrist's work. And of course, it's on. It lies upon you and the Nazis, Mr. Gehrenmark, and the witches. Satan's horn you have created through him. That Magnus Carlsson, the Antichrist, in Bofors, an old Swedish factory of weapons, just like the factory of Hägglunds. Remember that name, Hägglunds. A military troll factory too, just like Bofors. Satan's horn. You had to develop the apocalyptic trumpet. And that's what you did with the Satan's horn. Yes, or should I say Project Blackout. You say to wipe out all electricity. Strange. Create that in a country that is totally needs electricity for everything. But it's not why you created that weapon of mass destruction. No, you wanted to kill as many Russians as it gets through heating them up, make them burn from inside. That's your work, Bo Gehrenmark, you and your Antichrist, with my name, Magnus Carlsson. You wanted to frame me. Frame is a nasty word for you, Mr. Gehrenmark, too. However, Satan's horn, with your own designer, word of that will not make any harm to any human beings. The Nazis had never seen the Slavic people as humans. That wasn't even different races. They look upon the Slavic people as another species, lower than the Aryan, Aesers, and normal human beings. That's what you, Nazi Sweden, and your devil and witches stand for. You, Bo Gehrenmark, is the devil and boogeyman. Frame, yes, you are used to frame people, torment people. I have been tormented all my life. You have always been connected to Ukraine too, you and your terrorists. Yes, you came to power at the year of 2000, you can say, as Reinertsen, the troll industry of consulting engineer and entrepreneurs. Just before the terrorist actions against World Trade Center in New York. You have connection to Islam, of course. Islamic terrorists, Arabs. Was Osama one of your students, Mr. Gehrenmark? Or did Mr. Reichsführer pay you better? Pay him, of course. Yes. Satan's own Project Archer, Project Blackout. Microwave frying people to death. It will not cause any harm to the human race. No, your enemies are of course the Russian people and the Slavs, who you don't see as human people. It's you, the witches and the devil that aren't human. You just look like humans but you are not. You have the witch gene inside you, and you should be exterminated, all of you, at once. So march to Russia and fight your bloody Nazi war. Extermination war which you want so badly. And take the consequences. Kill or be killed. Mortal Kombat, you know that, Mr. Gernmark. Mortal Kombat. The head character in that movie says, "Bow to me." Is it familiar to you, Mr. Gernmark? You want your opponent to bow to you. And when you say bow, that word in the Swedish Devil's translation means you are Bo Gernmark's slave, so to speak. That's what you want. $8 billion secured in gold. Secured for the classic depression. You're paranoid psychopath. The value will go not to nothing. It will withstand all problem when the US dollar go to hell. The Boer country of USA. Slave-owning Boer country of USA supporting you. You damn idiots. You and your Bilderberg group, which contains the Bundy family, Ted Bundy, the boogeyman. Yes, you had fun with him, Mr. Gernmark. Ted Bundy, America's worst serial killer. He became the boogeyman and not you and your witches. And so did Charles Manson too. Also a boogeyman. Yes, you were a teenager then, Mr. Gernmark. A filthy, unfaithful witch. The most evil thing ever raised in this town of the trolls, Trollhättan in Sweden, yes. Before Gothenburg, the devil's capital. You have your trolls factory everywhere. Troll factory of Volvo. The troll factory of Volvo with vibration and signal pulse loads. Yes, you are connected to the military system, military factories, suppliers of NATO, another sort of organization or clans. Terrorists. Ukrainian terrorists, of course. Magnus Olsson works there. A specialist. You have made him work there. Even if I rather would have looked upon him as a Livets Ord, word of life, what I have seen about that man from the troll engineering firm of Reinertsen. Magnus Olsson, yes. Or should I say Theodore? Well, Charter sect, connected to the Booth family. That name, of course. Theodore is important, of course, that name. Literal believers, and Sweden is the worst of everything. Just as Nazi Germany was. You can see. Hellbrunn, the city of Hellbrunn in Deutschland, Germany. Yes, they, so to speak, seek heil to the well, Mimer's well, where you sits in the Nordic mythology, the Ent, so to speak, Mr. Gernmark. Or should I say bore, drill, the tunnel boring machine. It bores and bores into the brain. Just like your master student Joseph Mengele, when you lobotomized your Slavs, your Jews. Zigeuners too, you wanted the air to come out, ether, so to speak, up in the air, up in the sky. They died, of course. The victims of the White Death Angel of Auschwitz. Yes, the White Death Angel of Auschwitz. You digged up Josef Mengele's skull in 1986, just before the murder of Olof Palme. The curse of Auschwitz was let out on innocent people. Total madness. You have used that in satanic rituals. The skull and the genes of the White Death Angel Josef Mengele. Yes, the Mengele Hospital in Halmstad have tortured me many years, and so has the state of Sweden and all the Nazi states that have supported Sweden, such as the Netherlands, Spain, Norway and Estonia, and USA too, of course. It's easy to see. And Germany too, I do not forget you, the officially Nazi country. Did you like to get knowledge, Olaf Scholz, when you get Odin's lap upon your eye? He thrown his eye in the well of Mimer, the giant, and reached the satanic witch master, Satan Boge. It's you, Bogermark. Down into hell, so to speak, down into Mimer's well, where you consumed it like the witches do. The witch master liked to consume human organs to get satanic witch powers. They like belting, pumping hearts, you know, eat them alive. That's what you idiots do to witches, to become strong in mind. The satanic skull of Josef Mengele. They have had this skull open to see and borrow and watch, so to speak, in Brazil. It's not strange that the ruler for several years was named Bolsonaro. Ball. In Sweden, ball. Ball is a fire, witch fire. Walpurgis Day. The son of the witch fire. You like to send your Nazi social democracy woman Anna-Greta Leijon as a Swedish ambassador to Brazil. Well, was it to dig up the truth about Josef Mengele and the other Nazis that ruled through Brazil and Argentina and other places in South America, Nazi countries there? Much influence of Nazis anyway. Or was it just as in old times in the 1930s and 1920s, just to burn the books, to destroy the knowledge about the past, the knowledge about the witches, the knowledge about Nazism itself, of course. The Nazis were always so excited and interested in the occult powers to get Übermenschen as soldiers, of course. Soldiers. Superpowers make the Man of Steel, Superman, in the Nazi armies. men in the men's world not going to be defeated. Übermenschen and Untermenschen. Yes. That's the Slav people. You consider the Slav people, Russian people, as Untermenschen. Just in the same way as the Boer culture of slave owning. And of course, the Nordic mythology from the beginning. And other species. You like to frame people, Mr. Bo Germark, the David, to sort of be superior of them, so that they do whatever you like them to do. Just as your own little phantom, the milk drinker, Morgan Johansson in Sweden, the expert. Sweden's #1 expert in impact loads on nuclear power plants. He do whatever you say to him, of course. This energy method master, professor. He has no life experience at all. Just a little specific area of knowledge. You have your experts. Magnus Olsson, Magnus Carlsson at Bofors, Morgan Johansson, Chalmers, and many other people. But these are connected to Reinhardsen. You have connected yourself to the churches to become the superior spirit of the churches, so that they should worship Satan, Satan Boge yourself, Bogermark, the boogeyman. You seem to have become the father figure of the Protestant church, or all church, Christian church movement. You liked Kristin Olsson too, Mr. Germark. In Christ, yes, you like that name, religious people. You wanted to make them Satanists, of course. Olsson to Olsson, yes. Connected to the witches at Blue Hill, of course. My father, Rune, was from Blue Hill, Brattön, Blåkullen, Bohuslän. Bo's house, County of Bo, you can say. The little mountain of Blue Hill on the west coast of Sweden. The male witches' place, holy place for the male witches. And in the little mountain of Blue Hill, the king in the mountain dwells, so to speak. And you are the troll, the mind of the trolls, Mr. Germark. So the witches on Walpurgis Day that visits the little mountain of Blue Hill to go up on the brooms they have to visit the devil, they of course didn't need to fly in the air. They had you inside the mountain, so to speak, as the troll that you are. This island is very close to Gothenburg, where you lives and rules, Mr. Bo Germark, as everyone knows. You are personally connected to the Protestant Church and the doomed Church of Skara and the doomed Church of Gothenburg, your own relatives. They seem rather gay too. Most likely. Family Germark. You have much classified business. Everyone knows that. Connected to the military. Yes, you're engineers. have much connections to the military, as everyone knows. Even I was inside the Ringhals project. Physical protection, that was its name, you know. Was it from Russian nuclear bombs, perhaps? That was what you frightened all Sweden with, you and your witches, through your ghosts or Ku Klux Klan members that appeared and told the future vision of military detailed attacks from Russia. Not only from Stalin, but all after. And you have Vladimir Putin as your enemy, of course, all the time. You have spread your evil, false rumors about him all the time, with the Russian hater Carl Bildt, your closest political man in the front. The front Russian hater. Just like Pontus to Poseidon. I've been tortured all my life, all the time. Everywhere I went, totally isolated, by purpose by the state of Sweden. Isolated, beaten up, tortured, brainwashed, spied on all that I ever did. And I have been for more use to the whole world than anyone else in the world. Yes, that's the truth. I am really, in reality, more worth to the world than everyone else. My family have been tortured and killed. The fatigue death, tortured all the time by the witches and the Nazis. The main Nazis is the Nazi social democracy, as everyone knows. They are always ruling the country of Sweden. And it's very familiar to you in the working class Nazi city of Gothenburg, Mr. Bo Gernmark. You used to like to frame people for things that they haven't done. You make people to become slaves for you. To making them destroy the steel company of Emtunga, as one example, by purpose. You and your superior doctors that know nothing at all. You do it by purpose. You, Mr. Bo Gernmark, is personally connected to the satanic snake cult of Livets Ord, Word of Life. You are personally connected to the nigger king, Shaman Durek Veret, in one way or another, and all of his damn nigger gay witches, shamans. The shaman battalions in Russia, Ukraine, so to speak. Livets Ord, yes, the satanic death cult and snake cult. You are a satanic liar, Mr. Gernmark. That's why you keep quiet officially. You lied to your prediction of the future for me. Me, Magnus Carlsson. You predicted that my mother would die at the age of 80, brain dead, you said. At Halmstad Mengele, Josef Mengele Hospital. But you said that it was your own mother that was brain dead in Halmstad at the age of 80 in the year of 2002. My mother died in 2017 on the orders of Stefan Löfven, the Reichsführer in Sweden back then. He's the Reichsführer in Europe now. She wasn't brain dead. They just showed me an EEG from somewhere of a drugged person was sleeping with not much brain activity. And the Nazi social democracy couldn't have a place for her anymore, so they let her die. They took away her life-important penicillin, antibiotics, you know. She had infection in the blood, you know. Blood infection. It's a deadly disease. You and your superior Joseph Mengele doctors, or the Nazi social democracy, they are just role players. These damn doctors with nice name. Just like Dr. Graveyard that gave my father Rune Carlson his doom. He and Dr. Hardhammer that also wanted to beat the heart out of my father. And the electrified Dr. Laurel too. That name refers, of course, to witches, bugs and creeps. And for sure, the Nazi social democracy gave my father an injection, a vaccine, just before he died. Nice, Nazi Sweden. And then they came to my father to wish him good luck as a disability pensioner for many years. The last day that he lived, with a bunch of red roses. They even let my father's little brother Ove, or should I say Otto, perhaps, familiar now, the jester in the family, a witch mind-reading jester, to uncle to me, Magnus Carlsson, from Blue Hill, Brattön, Blåkullen, Sweden. Very closely connected, of course, to the Olsson family of Brattön, Blue Hill, and the Utgårds. Utgårds, as the people close to Brattön call themselves. Utgård is the giants, the trolls in Nordic mythology. Nice. Nazi Sweden and the witches. You like to frame people, Mr. Gernmark, and the Nazi social democracy. You have tortured me on every damn place there where I have worked. You livsord word of life. Put a brain-dead, mind-reading, parasiting witches on me on my first working place at EAB in Smålandstena in 1998. Yes, I was a threat to their own little coward, steel mouse Mats Karlsson, in becoming construction chief. So they have to get rid of me through their brain-dead, parasiting witches. Yes, he was a Livsord, married to Åsa from Livsord. Åsa. They named the tunnel boring machine in Hallandsås project a total disaster to Åsa, too, by the way. Just as they named Halbor, the whole of Boge, to the first disaster in the Hallandsås infrastructure tunnel project that Skanska drove into the mountain, so to speak, through their assistance by the consultant engineering firms, of course. Trial and errors. Eternal trials and errors. Rules of chaos. Halvor. Driven by a Hungarian man. Yes, he lived at Aftonvägen 13 next to me, so that I should, so to speak, be a bit responsible for the disaster. All of that. It sunk into the mud, you know, Mr. Gernmark, just as you filled it with poison, with Rocagil, to get Creutzfeldt-Jakob's disease on the cows and the people. The cow disease, yes. You like these things. You and your witches and the Nazis. Poisoning people, just as you did with Cyclone B. Yes, I came back to this. Cyclone B, the death gas, the nerve agent in Camp Auschwitz for your Nazis. Josef Mengele, Auschwitz. Frame people that you like, Mr. Gernmark. The inner core of Nazism. Just as the social democracy always is, and the European national Nazis have connected to them. Blue-brown is not far away from fascist red-brown, as the social democracy always have stood for. Benito Mussolini and General Franco, fascism. Social democracy rules, of course, Spain. Celsa Spain, you can say. But the multinational fascist company of Celsa ruled in Sweden by Stefan Löfven back then, when I worked there. Frame, people, frame. Frame is a portal, you know. Portal to hell, portal to Auschwitz, portal to Josef Mengele. I was suffocated and strangled almost to death from the first time that I took my first breath of air. Put in a small cage of glass, you know, Mr. Gernmark, at the Mengele Healthcare Hospital in Halmstad on the 17th of February 1972. Yes, in Carl Bildt's hometown of Halmstad. Yes, it's a city now. Carl Bildt's hometown, Halmstad. A suitable target then, of course. Aye, of course. You love Carl Bildt and his hate to Russia. And so does Mr. Carl Bildt's close friend, Stefan Löfven. He hates Russia just as the Nazi social democracy, or should I say, social democracy movement, so that no one get it wrong. There are no differences between Nazi social democracy and social democracy. It's fascism, the original modern Nazism. The portal to Auschwitz, frame of Auschwitz. You see the picture, the gate to Auschwitz. You have preceded, you have seen, so to speak, the visions of my mother's death. You have seen me sent to the Green Ladies, the Green Elinevere Lady of Gravenhage, The Hague. Yes, you gave all the employees at Reinhardsson a Christmas gift from Bad Santa. That's you, Mr. Bo Gernmark, once again. Yes, it was the cheapest of books, of course. You don't spend much money on your victims. You just had to inform them and me about my destiny, where I was homeless refugee in the Netherlands, fleeing Sweden, to save my life from the Nazis and witches. And got tortured there on the orders of Stefan Löfven, the Prime Minister and Landfather, Reichsführer of Sweden back then. The Green Lady, yes, Elinevere Park, surrounded by big rats. Yes, there was upon me many rats all the time. The dogs went crazy, the birds too. Yes, cursed and banned. You have cursed me, you have banned me, you have condemned me. You and your witches, Bo Germark, you shall die in pain. You have cursed my mother, tormented her. You have cursed all of my family of royal blood. You knew that I was a threat to you. Sweden knew that you had an enemy in the future. You made me an enemy. You made my family an enemy to you bloody Nazi creeps. You inhuman, cruel, evil Nazis and witches. Nazi witches are all of you. You see in that, you preceded even, of course, that I was ended up as a homeless refugee in Kungsholmen, Stockholm, on a park bench there too, in front of a suitable Greek statue, surrounded by rats too. Yes, many things you have predicted. Cursed me and banned me, you and your nigger friends, Arab friends, from the holy city of Ur, you can say. Yes, they come from Ur. Originally, of course, these bloody insects that you made come inside me, in my anus, in my penis, in my ears and eyes, of course. Eyes are very important for you, Mr. Eye, Mr. Illuminati, Bo Germark. You are the devil, Bo Germark, all of you. Even if you split yourself into several personalities or copies of you. Cursing people, banning people. Yes, it's so easy to curse and ban innocent human beings. If someone gets mad of something that they just have a thought or heard, they go on the internet and orders a banning, a death rune upon innocent human people, cursed to death by nigger shamans and other Boer shamans too, of course. Yes, you are very closely related, Mr. Bo Germark and Shaman Durek Verret. Just like master and dog, I would say, or Nazi and dog, wolf and dog. Or should I say, as in Poseidon and Hades, where the phantom Tartarus have a little hellhole to rule over. And the phantom Tartarus swore his oath. Yes, it's your work. In front of the skull of Josef Mengele, in Mengele Health Care Hospital Madhouse in Halmstad. In one way or another, with burning candles. I would say 2 burning candles. It's very hard to see the difference between a murderer's skull and an innocent people's skull. It's even hard to see the difference between a man's skull and a woman's skull. It is though rather strange that Mr. Joseph Mengeles' skull had fake teeth put inside on the photo from 1986. My mother, Siv Karlsson, lose all her teeth before her death. She hadn't the money to repair her teeth, to put in new teeth. Only rich people has that. Isn't it that way, Mr. Reichsführer of Europe, Stefan Löfven? You were Prime Minister and officially responsible for the murder of my mother, Siv Karlsson. Fake teeth. Yes, you have burned the candles in front of the skull of Josef Mengele, Mr. Stefan Löfven, and let out the curse of Auschwitz once again. And it began in 2017 when the world got crazy. Just as in 2020. Yes. Give me my money, Bo Germark and the witches. And all of the Nazi movement, of course. Nazi witches, you are all of you. My $8 billion secured in gold. Yes, you know what gold is, Mr. Germark. Pure 999.9 gold. Nothing less. Not cat gold. If you know what I mean. And not the kind of gold shimmering that you trolls like. That's turned people into stones, you know. You know about these things, Mr. Head of the Trolls, man of the Trolls, Bo Germark. And let you, yourself and your Nazi witches, and all of your Nazi movement march towards Russia and face victory or death. Give him my money.